Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the CET conference. This is my first conference. I know Carolyn has held them in the past, so it's great to be here. It's really great to see some familiar faces, and it's really great to see some new faces. As you know, my name is Gilder, and I'm a trainee with CE Transport Law. You won't have seen me in the office recently because I'm on a 6-month sabbatical with another law firm based in Luton doing mental health law. Mental health is obviously, quite a topical subject with drivers, but it's not something that I'm going to talk about today. Nobles are a large firm, and I'm also hoping to spend some time in their criminal department before coming back to Carolyn's in the new year. Prior to being a trainee solicitor, as you've already heard, I was a transport manager for my family business, Gilder's Transport, based in Gloucestershire. What I know now and wish I knew then, there's quite a lot, and I'm not going to go into all of it. But suffice to say, yes, I have learned a lot in my time with Carolyn. Next slide is actually get a good consultant on board before you get into trouble. That's really, really important. There are plenty in the room today. The operator licensing system, as we know, is based on trust. Operators sign to say that they will adhere to the regulations, to the undertakings, and the Traffic Commissioner believes that you will. That you won't use an unauthorised operating centre. That all vehicles and trailers will be kept in a serviceable and fit condition. That the rules on drivers' hours will be adhered to. Some of the undertakings require sophisticated systems to be put in place so that you can adhere to those undertakings. If you don't know how to get those systems in place and you don't fully understand the driver's hours rules, or you're not really sure about PMI intervals, then get a good consultant on board. But always remember, as the operator and as the transport manager, the buck will stop with you. You can delegate tasks, but never the responsibility. Right, let's see if we can. No. Okay, the next slide, although it's not going to come up. Join some industry organisations, such as the RHA. Join LinkedIn. Get on some free webinars and free seminars. There are plenty out there. Keep up with your CPD. Read Commercial Motors. Read other trade magazines. You'll be able to pick up a lot of information and help educate yourself by doing so. It comes up always late, doesn't it? Read the stat docs. They are really, really useful and really informative. Whilst I was aware of and read Stat Doc 3, which is regarding transport managers, quite a lot, I didn't really look at the others, and they can all be really useful at different times and for different reasons. Good repute and fitness, that's Stat Doc 1. It's not defined in law, but you need them to operate vehicles. It talks about relevant convictions that can affect your good repute and fitness. It gives case law to assist understanding how good repute and fitness can be determined. Finances. Meeting the financial requirement is an ongoing obligation. It is not just something that you have to satisfy on application. It's useful to read when making a variation or on your 5-year renewal. transport managers, this is the biggie really. The requirements for professional competence and good repute. It outlines responsibilities. It's essential reading for new transport managers, and it's a good reference for any transport manager, no matter how long you've been in the job. On application as a TM, your qualification gives you professional competence, and you are deemed to have good repute. Inexperience cannot be taken to be a lack of good repute, but I know from experience that experience is extremely valuable, and inexperience can potentially lead to a loss of good repute. The TM CPC is extensive, and it covers a lot of topics: driver's hours, defect reporting, PMIs. But what you don't learn on the TM CPC is how to handle people, situations, conflict, the dynamics of the company you work for. You know what needs to be done and the timeframes and the formats for doing that. But you will come up against drivers and others in your organisation who might disagree with you. One person I found to be a particular nuisance when I was a TM was the infamous driver's mate. Or sometimes he was the mate of a mate. I'm sure most of you in the room have come up against him or her. There was one driver in particular who would challenge everything he was told and would often quote his mate. Well, my mate on the ferry said this. Well, I think you're wrong because my mate in the truck stop said that. The driver's mate can be very dangerous, a super spreader of misinformation, and you need to silence him. This particular driver could get quite irate when I didn't agree with his mate, and strong language was often called for to put him right. Dealing with drivers like Roy, no surname, for new or young TMs can be intimidating and challenging. You could be up against someone who's been a driver for 40 years and you've just come into the industry. They think you're teaching them how to suck eggs, and a lot of them don't like it. Be sure what you are saying is correct. Because if, because of inexperience, you are unsure about the issue that you are trying to get across to him or her, don't have that showdown with them until you've checked with your consultant and you know what you are saying is correct. Don't become a spreader of misinformation yourself. A, you'll look stupid. B, you will lose the respect of drivers and colleagues. C, you will be jeopardizing the operator's license. And D, you should know. As a TM, you will deal with difficult people and difficult situations on a daily basis. What do you do when you're faced with a driver who is non-compliant but you're short of drivers? What do you do when the planner wants to use a vehicle that is due for PMI? What do you do when you're trying to do a gate check, but the vehicle is late for a pickup and the customer is screaming down the phone at the planner and the planner is screaming across the yard at you to get that beep beep lorry out? Well, we all know ultimately what you should do, but before you wave goodbye to the job you've just started, make sure you lay down your compliance foundations. Make sure people know what is expected of them. Have regular meetings. Get the drivers, planners, everyone in the business on board with your compliance regimes. Be tough. Be persistent. Try and be diplomatic. You need to work as a team. I think it is also particularly hard when you are a TM in a family business and where there is potential for your decisions as TM to be overridden by majority or seniority. There is no doubt that being a TM is a tough job and you need to develop a thick skin. Be prepared to be the most unpopular member of staff. TMs need to effectively and continuously manage the transport activities. I now know, and I didn't actually take it on board then, was that any significant length of absence needs to be notified to the Traffic Commissioner. So if you're planning on going on holiday for a fortnight, you should inform the Traffic Commissioner if you're a sole TM. If you're sat on a beach in the Bahamas, you're not continuously managing the transport activities. Sadly or luckily for me, that was never a problem. Family businesses also don't let you go on holiday. Right. Stat doc 4, we're not coming up. Okay, that's just about operating sensors. There's no further notes, and that is just a useful one to read. Brake tests, I'm not going to talk about brake tests because we've got Dave, an expert, who's going to go into brake testing. A few more points. Pick up the phone and speak to drivers if it's difficult to see them face to face. I was insistent on seeing drivers face to face. For de minimis, minor, occasional infringements, it's perfectly acceptable to get a WhatsApp or an e-sign or tell them, bring them to the driver's attention that way. For more complicated issues, I don't think you can beat seeing a driver face to face. You've got the data in front of you, and I think the drivers understand what you're saying much better. Interrogate people. Don't accept things. Not everyone is as conscientious as you. Interrogate your maintenance provider. Why did the vehicle fail MOT? Why didn't the PMI pick up an issue found roadside? Interrogate your drivers. Why didn't the driver detect on his walk-round check that the vehicle, had low tread and roadside or at PMI, it needed new tyres? Get a PG9, investigate it, document what you found and learn. Why did it happen? How did it happen? Was it avoidable? Most are. Do an audit and fully record your findings so you can hopefully stop it happening again. Update your driver handbook if that issue is something that hasn't arisen before. Learn from experience, good or bad, and don't forget to inform the Traffic Commissioner. Have regular audits. Fresh eyes can see things that you may have missed. Don't be afraid of the Traffic Commissioner. If you do what you're supposed to do, you don't need to fear the Traffic Commissioner. It's easy for operators, transport managers and drivers to demonise the Traffic Commissioner and think they're just out there to put people out of business, take away their good repute and tarnish reputations. But like all of us, they are just trying to do their job. Since being a trainee solicitor and sitting in the public inquiry room on numerous occasions, on the other side of the fence, a much nicer place to be, I have seen TCs really go the extra mile with operators. Operators who have not adhered to their obligations, but who have been honest in their failings, and where it was evident they had a desire to be compliant. I have seen TCs give such operators opportunity to get things right and signposted them and directed them. But beware those operators who think they can pull the wool over the Traffic Commissioner's eyes, and those that don't have a desire to get things right. Traffic Commissioners are extremely good at sniffing out bad operators, and we here in the room, all good operators, good TMs, we don't want bad operators on the road. Work together. Whether you're an operator, a consultant, a TM or a driver, you need to work together. Everyone has their role to play, and whilst distinct, they overlap. If your drivers are getting lots of infringements, whose fault is that? Teach, train, explain. One of my favourite roles as TM was going over the monthly infringement reports with drivers. I know I said you can get them done over the phone, but I always did see drivers face to face. It was particularly good when trying to get a driver to understand why he or she had insufficient daily rest, yet had had 11, 12, 13, 14 hours off, the dreaded 24-hour rule. We also did international work, and so the ferry mode and ferry movements caused for a lot of in-depth discussions. Of course, drivers who habitually offend and have no desire to get things right should be got rid of. But if you've got drivers who want to get it right but lack understanding, then do your job and make sure they know what they should be doing. Get your policies and processes in place and stick to them. Make everyone aware, from directors to planners, from drivers to the workshop staff, from the lady in accounts to the cleaning lady or man, that compliance is non-negotiable. It's not something you try to be. Compliant is something you have to be. Thank you.